My son and I are visiting a bunch of colleges, just trying to get a sense of what he likes, what he doesn't like, what the vibes are. I'm a big vibe person, and I constantly am telling my boys, like, pay attention to how you feel when you're in certain places. So, of course, we're going through all this stuff, and I'm like, what do you think? And he's like, I don't know. Well, we had some great college visits. We went to my alma mater, which is UVA, and then we had some time to kill before we flew out, and I said, hey, let's go visit another school. I'm not even going to mention it. And it's a prominent school. On paper, we would have checked it and said, this looks great. We walked on to the campus, and immediately my son looked at me and said, I feel like I'm at Hogwarts. I started laughing. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then all of a sudden I looked over in front of a dorm, and there's a griffin, which is the mascot of this place. And we just start laughing, and he's like, I bet that's Gryffindor. And then he looked over and he saw some people going into one of the dorms, and he said, maybe that's Slytherin. But it was just really funny that we see this big lawn and people lined up along the side of the lawn, and he said, I think they're waiting for the Quidditch match to start. And so we just had a big laugh about that. And I looked at him afterwards, I was like, so is this a no? But he really did listen to the vibe. We talked about it afterwards, and I'm like, well, what were your thoughts? He's like, it was just really quiet there. And this is my kid that's very introverted. He's not a like wild and crazy, put yourself out there kid. He's very introverted. So I just thought this was hilarious. So I had to share this because really, this is something that I've tried to cultivate in my boys, is pay attention to how you feel when you're around things and doing things. Don't do things because they're what's expected of you. Do things because you want to do them, because they feel good. Be places and show up for things that interest you, even if it makes you come outside of your comfort zone and put yourself out there. If there's a spark there, that's your soul kind of telling you, I want to do this. And take the time for things that matter. So in all of this chaos of my life right now, I know that it matters for my son to find a place that he really feels comfortable. Because right now in high school, he doesn't feel so comfortable. And college is a place that he can actually choose where he goes. And so it was really important to me to take him to a couple of places, knowing who my kid is, that connection that I have with my kid, knowing who my kid is. I really made a point of taking him to places that were big, little, small, so I can compare different sizes. So we went down to North Carolina, we went to Virginia. Last year, I took him to local places to see what a city school looks like, what a college, a suburban college looks like. And then I teach at a very country, small school near us, and I've taken him to that. So for all of you parents out there, my friends that are going through this with their kids, I implore you to kind of try to tune out the noise of everybody else. Tune into your kid and figure out who is your kid? How does he learn best? One of the places my son and I went to was a big school. I don't think my son is gonna do great at a big school. That's just me, just because he's a quiet kid. He's a connecting kid. He's a kid that kind of tends to get lost in the crowd. And we went down to visit a friend of ours' son, who was down in like a big ACC school, and he took us around, and we flew home, and my son was like, I loved it. I think that might be my top. And I was like, what? More because it was a huge school. Academically, it wasn't where he could do. He wants to go pre-med. So anyway, it's just really interesting. And instead of telling him where I think he needs to be, I am taking the perspective of really trying to process with him who he is, helping him identify who he is, and then from there identify, knowing this about yourself, which kind of a place or which kind of a school would be better for you. Big school where you're one of several, one of 100 kids in a lecture hall, or a school where the maximum class size is like 30, 35 people. This is important for me to process this stuff with my son, coming from a place of not where I want him to be because that's where society says is a good school, but more where does he need to be that's going to help him be the best that he can be and show up as his best self? And that's a place that, you know, I can help him maybe find, but only he's going to know that. And he's only going to know that if he understands who he is and what he needs as an individual. So anyway, I just want to share this and my Hogwarts thing. If you want to know, or maybe you know what school this is, it's hilarious. Anyway, be well, everyone.